Hi, everyone. Before we start, I just want to let people know that I'm one of the people that's running this meeting, facilitating, and we've been asked to record this meeting, these breakout rooms, only these breakout rooms and not the other ones. So please, if you feel uncomfortable, turn off your camera, change your name. Otherwise, I hope people will feel comfortable and speak freely. Definitely, we want to be able to share the wealth and share the knowledge. So thank you.
Hi folks, I'm Joey Gitzig in Texas.
Hi, I'm Diane McMahon in, where am I? Pittsburgh.
Hello, I'm Caroline from Nottingham in England.
I have a question for you, but I guess, is anyone else here to get introduced?
Yeah, I'm Anne. I'm in Florida, Tampa, Florida. Hi.
Kathy Laws in Pennsylvania.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ty Smith. I live in Denver, Colorado in the USA.
And I'm from Toronto over here.
Hi, Susan Musante here from Alaska, but currently sitting in the Southwest. And Ty, are you recording?
I am, yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
And I let people know before you join that I'm recording, so if they don't feel comfortable, please turn off your videos and change your names.
Okay, and one last thing I want to say, Ty, if I get knocked off because I'm kind of in a weird place right now, you're in charge. Nobody's in charge. We're all in charge.
Yeah, that makes me feel a lot better. Thank you.
We're all in charge. Certainly not me.
We're a community.
Yeah. Cindy Fisher, Vancouver, Washington, USA.
Fred from Cornwall, England.
Where in England? Cornwall. Got it.
Oliver from Pennsylvania.
Are you in part?
Lancaster.
Oh, okay.
Karen from the UK, but I would actually like to start one in France.
I'm Vicky from Connecticut.
Hi, I'm Amy from Victoria in British Columbia, Canada.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Clever from Rwanda.
Has everybody introduced themselves?
From Germany. I see in the chat, Deirdre says, not sure if you can see this in the group, but I cannot turn on my microphone here. Sorry, my name is Deirdre and I am in Aloha, Oregon. And also there is Clover from Rwanda.
What a wonderful group we have.
Very, very diverse and international. I'm excited. So today, we are here to talk about how to implement soterias and respites. And I guess I would just say, I'm curious, I mean, how to move forward. Obviously, we're not going to solve that problem in one day, but to move forward with kind of the idea of the summit was to kind of be an incubator, and that this would not end in the sense that, you know, we had a lot of good interaction and talking, but I think a lot of people like myself are interested in some action. How can we make some of these things happen? So I guess anybody, and I think, are we supposed to get a note taker? Is that what they said at the end there, Cindy?
Yes. Yes.
So
we do.
is there anybody who would like to take a note? Because are we going to do a report back at the end?
Yes.
Okay. Is there someone who would like to do that?
I would like to, but I'm thinking of going to various rooms just to be difficult. Sorry about that.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm the same. I would, between room 1 and 2. I'd like to start one, and I've got a location in mind, but I kind of fall in between the two, 1 and 2, the 2 rooms.
Tell me again where you are.
I'm in the UK.
That's right. Okay.
But I'd like to be involved in the running of it rather than starting it myself. But I'd like to start somewhere in France, and I've got a location in mind. So, but I don't want to be the driver behind it, but I'm happy to get involved.
What's the location, if I can ask, that you have in mind?
We're in France, fairly central, really, in the Charente.
Charente, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a few people on the summit. The problem is there's a lot of people who want to start a centre, but we're all dotted around the world, aren't we? And it's such a huge project to get off the ground. And
how would you address language?
What's that? Sorry?
How would you address the language issue? Would it be for, I mean,
So
would it have to be for French
I
speakers?
want to interrupt for a minute, just for a second, because we need to get a note taker, and then all these questions are really important, but I would like to let Susan guide this, and then you folks can, connect as it is inside that. Is there a note taker? I can try. I have trouble with my handwriting, so I will turn off the mic.
Yeah.
I can try taking notes.
I can too. I mean, I'm happy to type. I'm typing as it is, but sometimes I miss things, like don't understand things or miss things. If there's somebody else who would want to fill in,
So I think that's great. I just heard at least 2 people. So, and then when we get to report out, we'll just make sure that everybody who took some notes, I can try and take some notes as well, but I'm, as I said, I'm
also, Susan, I think when in the report out, if there's something really critical that people feel like it was missed, they can just add that in. So you don't have to get it all. Just thank you for doing it. All right, Susan, back to you.
We might have lost Susan because she's in a remote area. I see that there's some questions. Before we get into the questions, though, I just want to kind of, the purpose of this room, from my understanding, is talking about how we can help people with the next steps, providing mentorship, how we can help people really find ways to develop these areas in wherever they want to develop it. It's not necessarily talking about developing it, but how we can provide those next steps. So I want to respect people's questions, and I want people to feel free to ask questions, but I also just want to have that purpose of, how can we make this an ongoing support for everyone for years to come, to be able to come in and say, I want to start up a program like this, because there's not enough of these programs out in the world, and we want to create that supply. So thank you.
Thanks, Ty.
Could I just say hi to Donald? Hey, Donald, I'm back. Donald Ross.
I'm not sure I'm hearing.
Yes.
I just want to let Donald know I'm back.
Oh, hi, Laura.
It's Laura. It's Laura. Sorry.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The question is, my question is, there's Peer Respites and there's Soteria, and there's a lot of similarities, but the structure is very different. So I think those of us who want to start a Peer Respite, there's different issues than those of us who want to start Soteria. So maybe going forward, we should, I think we've laid a good foundation.
Yeah.
Philosophically, but that maybe going forward, we should maybe split into two groups. Which one of us are more focused on trying to get a Soteria-like place, and which one of us are more focused on doing short-term like Peer Respites?
Yeah, I think that would make sense to split the two, because they are two very different, aren't they? Different approaches.
So what I think the similarities are shared values.
Yeah, there are similarities, but there are, yeah.
No, the similarities
there's
are shared
obviously a lot.
values. Yeah.
There's a lot of common elements like funding and things like that, and staffing. So there's a lot of common aspects. Yeah.
But their purposes, you are exactly correct in that the purposes are different. The purposes are different in the sense of, who the one of the questions I always like to ask when I'm speaking or approaching a problem is like, who is the audience? And the audience of the Peer Respite is different than the audience of the Soteria, but there is very much shared. And in keeping with what Ty said, I do want to say that there's no way that I could have, we were a whole group of people doing it, could have got a Soteria in Alaska going. And I think this is probably true of respites as well. There's no way without some mentorship. And I had some really great mentorship. So just to reinforce what Ty was saying, that, that's one of the things here. But so I think that actually advocating for funding and how to problem solve, for example, the not in my backyard syndrome, which happens in a lot of places. I don't know if that happens internationally. It certainly happens in the US. Those are common problems. We have shared values. I think we have shared fundraising activities, but the audience is different. So that's kind of how I see it, if that helps. But the suggestion, I think, is that going forward, that we actually have two distinct groups, one for Peer Respites and one for Soterias.
Yeah, I think the start really is contact, really. Is being able to connect with like-minded people in the same area.
We have a couple people with their hands up. Kathy had her hand up first. I don't know if it's relevant to what we're talking about, but I just want to acknowledge it.
Thanks, Ty. I also agree that I think going forward, it would be helpful to have a stream for Peer Respite and Soteria. There's always places we could come together around the values and things, but the nuts and bolts, I think, will be different. I think even the funding streams can be different because, there is that clinical oversight aspect of Soteria House that makes it maybe a little more amenable to public health funding in the US. I think we also need networking and connections beyond the mental health world. So for example, real estate expertise. How do you find a house? How do you navigate zoning laws? How do you overcome the not in my backyard, the NIMBY thing? I think those are things that people in the real estate world probably know a lot more about than those of us that are just in the mental health lived experience world.
I think this is really valuable to, what the question is what sort of supports do we need to develop? So, developing these different areas, we don't have much time, so I'll just shut up and pass it over to Kathy.
Thank you. So my question would be, we've been talking about Peer Respites and Soteria houses mainly, but we've been kind of planning of doing a community center here in Germany, where people can just exchange their experiences, or people who've been in the psychiatric system mainly And we've been thinking about applying the values of the Peer Respite and Soteria model to kind of the context of what we wanted to do, where people can kind of get together and exchange their experiences, maybe do some yoga classes, and we've been thinking about self-funding it. So would that be something that also applies to us? Thank you.
I just want to summarize what I think I'm hearing. So first I heard that we will need going forward for mentorship, not just folks who have been in this field, but architects and real estate people. And then what I just heard is how to use the approach in different settings. We're not necessarily in a house, and Sarah spoke to that a little bit. And I think that's a valuable thing to talk about, because to me, the important part is the being with and not doing to. So how do we take this approach into different settings? That's what I'm hearing.
I think also defining the difference between Peer Respite and Soteria House. Donald has his hand up.
And Ty, because there's only 5 minutes left, and I think Diane put something in the chat that said that she's had her hand up and it keeps going down. And so
because I'm typing.
Yeah,
my typing goes down.
So between Don and Diane, that'll probably be our last two. So if you both can be conscious of that, so you're sharing time.
I'll just be really quick, Diane, just to say that consulting, I have a friend who is a developer and a banker, and it's with him that I really developed the idea with regard to what is this going to cost in terms of operating budget and capital budget. And he was instrumental in helping me do that. He was also instrumental in determining exactly how many square foot per person we need and so forth. So I would really suggest, if you have any friends who are business-oriented bankers and real estate folks. In fact, he suggested that I buy up a motel because they're going fairly cheaply here in Washington. Anyway, that's all.
My comment is similar. When Kathy brought up, needing people outside the field. So in State College, where I used to live in central Pennsylvania, a long-term, LTSR, long-term something residence was set up in a community, and there was a lot of resistance, a lot of NIMBY. So the home was retrofitted, and the county worked a lot with us. Then there are, I guess, regulations as far as you were talking, Daniel, about Donald, about square footage and things like that. That might be a piece of the county requirements or the zoning. So all of that we got through already with our county and setting up a different kind of home. So, yeah.
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing for going forward is, if we're talking about mentors, we really need a cadre of mentors who know about citing the house, that put it where it should be, and that's real estate, probably lawyers, bankers, and this group, I don't know if we have that many people, so that may be something we look forward to. Can we have a cadre of mentors who have the skill set that some of us don't have? I certainly don't.
And it would need to be from around the world, because it would be different for each country. So we really
it's actually different by state and city and country, so it's complicated, but it's really important.
So I think the question was, should we plan to meet again, or should we? I think it's difficult now. Susan, how would we suggest? Do you think we'd move forward from here? We probably have 1 minute to decide that.
So I guess what I'm hearing, the big recommendation is that we look for different skill sets of mentors, and then this is too short to solve this this issue. Sorry. So I personally think we should meet again, but I leave that to all of you. And we could meet separately. I think there's common issues and uncommon ones also, distinct. So
I wonder if we can have breakout rooms at the end of this again.
So I just want to.
People have been staying on for the chat, haven't they, for a couple of hours after?
Yes.
And I was wondered if we could have another breakout room rather than on a big general chat. I think that would be kind of beneficial.
I just want to let everyone know, if they hadn't seen, we have 15 minutes more. So there's more time if I would highly recommend that if you're not on the group email distribution for this, that you should contact the Peer Respite Soteria Summit email. So I'm not giving anyone else's email out without permission, and ask to join. And then we can use that to form up meetings for people. And I'll just put that email in chat for people. And then Amy, you have the floor.
I just wanted to say briefly that our group here in British Columbia and Victoria in particular, we've been using these summits as a training of sorts, and then we meet at 12 when it ends for half an hour, our local group, and we debrief about all the information we've heard during the summit. So we will be missing this one because this is our big last Zoom. We have all kinds of local organizations that we've been outreaching with who are going to be coming on the Zoom and talking about how they can participate and support us. So it's a big day for us, but other than that, we're on board and want to participate, and we'll certainly figure out when you guys are meeting next and be there. Okay, thanks.
Congratulations, moving forward.
Yeah. And that's a wonderful model that I don't know if you've written that up, but folks could, because you remember the whole summit has been recorded and you can take it session by session. So how you got folks involved is, I mean, clearly you probably just reached out and asked, but if you have something written up about that, then we'd be willing to send it out. That would be a great model for people to have access to.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to. Yeah, we've only been together for 2 months, but we've gone from having a open community conversation at a recreation center. I rented out the room and invited the community at large to talk about alternatives to the psychiatric emergency system we have here. And people came and we started to brainstorm and work together and decided our first goal was to have a peer respite house with a peer caring community drop-in center and warm line as opposed to crisis line, in conjunction, working together and supporting each other. And then I reached out to all the community organizations that exist now and have gained their support. And now we're going to move on to phase 2 after today's summit.
So I think that's wonderful. I guess my question, I'm sure we probably have hands up. My question would be, what would help you and anybody else who's moving forward, move forward? And I think that's really the question at hand. How do we proceed to help anybody who's moving forward?
It's definitely going to be, I think, an issue of accessing funding. There are so many different small grants in Canada, but we're looking to have this become part of a regular part of, mental health care offerings. And so we don't have to spend all our time fighting for funding, even though that may be the case and is the case, but we'd like to be able to see it established securely enough that we can focus on proliferating it. So we're not just serving 4 people at a time, but that we can have, and I think there's an interest here in having both peer respite and Soteria type models, more than one. The first summit, when somebody mentioned having emotional fire halls in each community, that really hit home with us. And we just have hung on to that. I can't remember who said it, but somebody said, having a peer respite house in every community is like having an emotional fire hall in every community. And every community should want one and should have one for its citizens. Yeah.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is added to our list of mentors or mentor expertise would be people with fundraising expertise. So not all of us are, it's not always easy for some of us to make the ask. I know I've struggled with that. How do you make the ask? And it's just hard for me. So I think that's another cadre of mentorship. I see more hands.
Carolyn had her hand up the longest.
Oh, thank you. Hi, so I'm a survivor researcher from the University of Nottingham, and I've had lived experience of being hospitalised in the UK and having terrible experiences there, and I really am passionate about wanting to set up a Soteria in the UK, specifically in Nottingham, and also I have a partner who works in an organisation, a survivor organisation in Newcastle, who's also interested in setting up something there as well. But I actually kind of, my background is in architecture. So my degrees and PhD and everything wasn't in mental health, it was actually in architecture. So I'm very interested in kind of the building side of things and the actual sort of design and things I mean, I've been more focused on interested in looking at research in Soteria because it's something I'm more aware of. So I kind of, I guess moving forward, I'm planning to look at doing sort of a research into into sort of a bit more about Soteria, but ultimately the ultimate goal will be actually setting up something. So I guess for me, I think it's really important. Next steps is I really want to connect more with people who are kind of interested in Soteria and learn more about it. And I think it's very important, I guess, looking at people's different expertise and trying to sort of get that involved. So that's what I had to say. So thank you for giving me the chance to talk.
And I just want to say that I concur with the folks who are saying it's not really, when people say, should you do a respite or a Soteria, there should be both. But you always have to start somewhere. So that's why I spoke to put one foot in front of the other. But yeah, and they should all be there. We should have these options.
Cindy Fisher?
I would like to have support in actually moving forward. My daughter has this $300,000 grant, so I guess I'm both with fundraising because we have to do $75,000 just to get the $300,000, and then we have to do fundraising for staff. But also, in the meantime, what can I be doing? Would it be more important to be building political relationships? Would it be more important to be trying to begin to train staff, even though we're not sure when it's going to open? So I'm not sure what is the most effective next step. And we're moving towards Soteria House first, simply because that's the funding. But I also want to be on the Peer Respite list too, if there is 2 different lists. Thank you.
I'll just call on myself next.
Don't forget also Diane has a hand up just so I can see it, and I don't know if you can. But go ahead, Ty. Just so you know.
Dan can go first. I can't see it, so.
Yeah, I don't want to be penalized for typing because every time I type, my hand goes down. So I typed at the beginning. I mean, next steps, it's a lot of things. I've lost it in my note. Oh, wait, it's down. But, you know, the funding, the buy-in in the county, whoever would be, you know, where you'd be setting it up, advocating for it to get the buy-in. And we talked about the elements of the particular homes, and that this is all like steps. And then stumbling blocks. So, I mean, yeah, those are just the things I thought of as first steps. I just wanted to share that.
Myself and then Donald, I just want to quickly say, I think community buy-in is really important for our peers as well. When I tried to bring this to peers in my state, they had a feeling that this was too good to be true and kept asking who's paying for it. And, you know, my insurance won't cover that. I'm on some sort of specialty insurance. And so I just really want to educate the whole community, our peers probably more than anyone else, because if they feel like they have to pay to participate in services I want to be free to them, they're not going to join because they think that they're going to be out something. So as far as next steps go, I would like to see maybe culturally competent, and I say culturally competent because, you know, if you're working out in rural areas or frontier areas, it's different than working in the metro area. You need to have people who understand the communities that they go in and present to. So I think that's important. Donald?
Yeah, I think from my point of view, I'm looking for a project manager at this point. I'm of an age that I'm not going to be able to possibly see this through in the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't have, and you know, I'm not at the phase of my career where I'd like to start something new, but I think that I would be very interested in having a programmer, what I would call a project manager, who would do all the kinds of research that you're talking about, including community discussions and groups and so forth, and also applying for his or her own grant to salary himself or herself. So I think that that's a real need, because all of us are impassioned by this. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I get worse every day with it. So I think what's missing are those of us who are impassioned, but I think KC was saying that we don't necessarily want to be in the position that Susan had been in, which is to apply for the licensing, get the insurance, look at the zoning resources and so forth and so on. That's the nitty gritty that I see I need at the moment to go forward.
So Grace just let us know we have 5 minutes, just to let you know. Donald, I appreciate those words, because this is not for the faint of heart. And I can tell you, I'm glad to help anybody, but I'm not doing it again. not because I don't want to, I love it, but this is for someone who can carry it through. So I appreciated your words about that, really and truly.
Susan, there's been a couple of questions in the chat and people have answered them, but maybe other people have that same question. Very quickly, can you summarize the difference between Soteria and Peer Respite, even though they have a very strong common ground in being with? What's the difference?
Is this to me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Peer Respite is obviously by its model peer run, because it's called Peer Respite, but then they tell me not all of them are peer run. So there's some sort of a hybrid out there where it's maybe not 100% peer run. Soteria was not designed as a peer run program. It was designed by a psychiatrist who was questioning the long-term benefits of putting people in a lockdown situation and using psychiatric medication, and the mode, and it was looking at a relational mode, being with rather than doing to. Being with, letting somebody go through their journey, as opposed to writing a prescription and then shooting them out the door. And Peer Respite is, they're usually in houses, but I'm aware that some Peer Respite folks actually go to other people's homes. Not everybody, but there's different models and approaches to it. But it's peers helping peers. The ones that I've experienced often, as someone spoke to this, often have a warm line approach attached to them. But someone can come by choice to the house and say, I know I'm headed for the hospital because I'm having challenges right now. I want to come here instead. And they voluntarily bring themselves, but they're both voluntary. But that's how I see the differences. The approaches are similar. Being with instead of doing to. Let somebody, Sarah said it today, she was great. Just put the power under the person, not over the person. And do we have other, you had other questions? There were other questions, comments in the chat? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading my chat.
Yeah, I didn't see any more. People were kind of talking back and forth.
I have something. I was just thinking, again, another thing is to creating a buy-in of the funders is to share an evidence base. I mean, that's to me a no-brainer, you know, just show how successful they've been and show money, talk money.
Yeah. So some people get some people join on for stories. That was my experience. If you could tell a story and they could relate to it, or they had a story and they could relate to it, then they're there. But more and more they're saying, how much money are we going to save, and what's the evidence base?
Right.
So you're right on about that.
Yeah, money talks. Money talks. Like, what's in it for me? And you have to get past the end of your nose. That's the hardest piece. It's black and white. Oh, money now. No. Money now, money saved later. It's not binary. It's not yes, no. It's not this, that.
We will be put back into the main room in less than a minute. I don't think we have time for any more questions. And unless you want to say something and get cut off. But I want to give people the option to return back to the main room. I know I have to because I'm recording. But I just wanted to thank everyone for being in this fabulous room. Thank you.
Thanks.
I agree. Thank you all. And,
yeah, thanks everyone.
So rich, the discussion.